In 1963, an old catfisherman named Chester, back in Tennessee, filled a bucket with 23 enormous catfish using an old glass jar and 3 kitchen ingredients. His neighbor, with all the paraphernalia of the time, went home with 2 fish. 2. 60 years later, this same technique is at the center of petitions in 12 American states. Petitions funded by fishing stores and synthetic bait manufacturers who simply don't want you to know it exists. But the river dwellers of the Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana bayou still use it. And it still works the same. If this is your first time here, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any secrets the industry tries to keep hidden. I'm going to tell you what happened on the Hatchie River in western Tennessee on a weekend in July 2019. 2 groups of fishermen, same stretch of river, same time of day. One group with the usual manufactured lures, Berkeley power bait, catfish Charlie, Mans, that whole arsenal bought at Bass Pro. The other group with a homemade fermented bait, a recipe from a 78-year-old man named Elroy from Bolivar, Tennessee, whose grandfather learned to make this stuff in the post-war years, fishing in the Hatchie River itself to feed his family. Results at the end of the day: store-bait group, 4 catfish. Elroy's group, 17 catfish, including 2 blue catfish over 8 pounds each. It wasn't a one-time thing. They repeated it on the Buffalo River in Arkansas, on Teche Bayou in Louisiana, on Guntersville Lake in Alabama. Always the same pattern. And you know what else? The older fishermen of the Mississippi Delta weren't surprised at all. For them, it was never a surprise. It was just the right way to fish. This tradition has been rampant since the 1940s in riverside communities of the southern United States. In Tennessee, the Mississippi Delta, the Ozark Hills in Missouri, along the Alabama River. Passed down from grandfather to father, from father to son, preserved in torn recipe notebooks that were never published, never became a shelf product, never paid royalties to any manufacturer. And that's exactly why the stores started to take action. We are living in the craziest era of fishing. There has never been so much technology, so much information thrown onto the internet. And yet, a lot of fishermen continue to return home with few catches, frustrated, without understanding why some guys always fill their live wells while they just take pictures of the river. What if the very strategies that even the most experienced anglers don't share publicly are what's missing from your fishing trips? Those invisible adjustments to water reading, spot selection, bait type, and decision-making that don't appear in YouTube videos, but completely change the outcome in practice. That's why the ebook High-Level Fishing was created. A practical, straightforward guide, where you discover the pillars that truly make a difference in fishing, and learn to apply, step by step, the same strategies that the most successful anglers use in the water. This isn't just another superficial resource repeating obvious tips. Here you'll truly understand how to think like a high-level fisherman, how to read the environment, choose your spots better, adjust your techniques, and prepare intelligently for each outing, greatly increasing your chances of catching more fish in less time. Download now using the link pinned in the first comment. Please note, this special offer from $99.90 to just $14.92 is available for a limited time only and may be discontinued at any time. So what's the trick? The main ingredient is fermented chicken liver. Chicken liver, the kind that costs less than $2 at Walmart or Kroger. Sounds crazy? Science explains it. And back in 1967, researchers at the University of Mississippi were documenting exactly why this works so well in southern rivers. The olfactory system of a channel catfish has a sensory capacity that would make any police dog envious. It can detect free amino acids, specifically L-alanine and L-arginine. in concentrations of less than 1 part per billion in water. To give you an idea, it's like detecting a single drop of coffee in an entire Olympic tank. And what happens when chicken liver ferments? It releases exactly those amino acids. The proteins break down, the fatty acids are released. The smell that is simply horrible to us is the strongest signal there is for the catfish. Food, here. Now, there's more. The fish's lateral line, that row of dots you see on its flank, detects vibration and pressure in the water. A fermented bait releases gas bubbles and suspended particles that activate this system even with little current. Channel catfish up to 150 meters away can sense this. The ancient river dwellers didn't know the name L-alanine, but they knew that old, foul-smelling bait worked better. Science only confirmed what they were already doing. Preparation: 1 jar of chicken liver, about 450 grams, around 1.89 at Walmart, 4 cloves of garlic, well crushed to release the sulfides, 2 tablespoons of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of anise oil, that strong licorice scent, 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Total cost, less than $3.50. Step by step. He puts the liver in a glass jar with a lid. He doesn't use plastic. The smell never goes away. Crush the garlic cloves, mix with the garlic powder and anise oil. Then add everything. Loosely cover. Let the gas escape. And leave out of the refrigerator for 48 hours in summer, 72 hours in autumn. Then put it in the refrigerator. It lasts up to 2 weeks. Or freeze it in small portions for up to 3 months. The secret nobody tells you: anise oil. It enhances the catfish's sense of smell in a way that no synthetic bait can replicate. Ozark fishermen have been using anise since the 1950s and never quite understood why. They just knew it worked. Today we know. The anethol in anise oil binds to the catfish's olfactory receptors differently than protein amino acids, activating a dual feeding response. Use with treble hooks or sponge hooks. Dip the bait in the liquid before casting. Do not squeeze. The liver needs to release its juice slowly into the current, creating a trail that the fish follows to the hook. If you want to boost it, you can add canned sardine juice. Amplifies the fat trail in the water, reaching fish further away. Chicken blood, available in Asian markets in the southern U.S. for less than $1, increases the attractant cloud and activates the blood-feeding response. Now, the villain of the story. Why doesn't any store tell you this? Simple math. A jar of power bait catfish bait at Bass Pro costs between $7 and $12. Catfish Charlie dive lures go for as little as $9 in a small container. Larger brands like Magic Bait rake in tens of millions of dollars a year, selling the equivalent of a $3.50 homemade bait. When researchers began documenting homemade recipes in forums and early YouTube channels around 2012, 2013, sales of synthetic baits plummeted in certain markets. The response was regulatory pressure, petitions arguing that fermented bait poses a biohazard risk in public bodies of water. Wrapped in environmental jargon, funded by those who sell bait on store shelves. In 12 American states today, there are restrictions on where you can use fermented bait in public waters. Not everywhere. Always check your state's rules before you go fishing. But the trend is clear, and the guys who never stop fishing know very well what's behind it. How to use it in practice. About 2 tablespoons per serving, no more than that. Best times, dusk and dawn, when catfish are actively hunting. Water between 70 degrees and 85 degrees is ideal, especially in summer. Create a trail, not a cloud. Too much bait saturates the water, and the fish stop following. Channel catfish and blue catfish respond very well. Flathead catfish prefer live bait, a different recipe. Most common mistake, removing it from fermentation too early. Poorly fermented starter doesn't release amino acids at the right concentration. The smell has to be strong. Unbearable, actually. Click now. Secure your access to high-level fishing, and let these strategies start transforming your next fishing trips. The link is in the first pinned comment. When you return from the water applying what you've learned, come back here and comment, "I caught more." That will be your commitment to your evolution in fishing. And perhaps it's exactly the step that separates the stories you hear from the stories you'll start telling. Imagine your next fishing trip on the Mississippi, in Tennessee, or your favorite stretch of river. While others spend $10 or $12 on a store-bought bait container, you use a $3.50 homemade concoction that the old Delta fishermen used decades before any brand existed. In 2 hours on the water, the fish tank will tell the story. Your friends will ask for the secret. You decide whether to tell them. The old catfishermen of Arkansas, Tennessee, and the Louisiana Bayou knew something the industry has spent decades trying to erase. It's not lab secrets. It's not expensive technology. It's river knowledge, passed down in whispers from generation to generation that the stores have been determined to let die. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video.